Hello, I'm Hugh, and today I'm here to talk about Egypt Station, which is the brand new album by Paul McCartney released today. I'm just going to talk about the album track by track. I'm not going to include the 2 tracks you can get from the HMV exclusive edition, or if you're in America, the Target edition. I'm saving them. But I'll talk about everything else and just give you my first impressions. I've listened to the album twice today, and yeah. The album is produced by Greg Kurstin. He's worked with people like The Shins and Tegan and Sarah and Beck. And on a more pop spectrum, he's worked with Adele, Sia, Ellie Goulding, Kelly Clarkson, that kind of thing. However, one song is produced by Ryan Tedder, who is the vocalist from One Republic. And he's, again, worked with most of the big sort of pop acts over the last sort of 10 years or so. Your One Directions and I think Kelly Clarkson again. So yeah, he only produces 1 track and we'll get to that. Okay, well, the first track on it is Opening Station, which is just a short little prelude to I Don't Know, the second track. Now we've already heard this track because it was, along with Come On To Me, which is track 3, the first single from the album. When the single was released, I Don't Know was my favourite of the 2, and it probably still is. It's a sort of introspective sort of ballad of a kind that Paul McCartney's done quite a lot over the last sort of 15 years. Probably the best kind of example of that style in recent years has been I Want To Come Home, which was written for the film Everybody's Fine, starring Robert De Niro in 2009, something like that. And that's a lovely song, and I don't think many people know about it, so check that one out because it's a lovely song. I Don't Know is not as good as that, but it's the same kind of lines, you know. Then there's Come On To Me, which is Paul being a bit sort of old man lusty, but it's good, and in the context of the album, I think I like it more than I liked it when it was released as a single, because after the kind of low-key beginning with I Don't Know, Come On To Me is like, sounds like it's made out of metal, you know, it's like, rah. So, yeah, I like that one a lot as well. I like the brass. When the brass comes in, just makes me think of Wings. The 4th track on the album is called Happy With You, and this is a sort of sweet little acoustic song, sort of foot tapping, of a kind that he's done before, again, things like Put It There or Mama's Little Girl. You know, the man's had a sort of 50-year career, so it's very hard not to compare anything new he releases to something else that he's, you know, released before in the same kind of blueprint. But this is it's a really nice song about ditching the drugs and the alcohol, I think. And I've got a little anecdote which is related to that, which is that when I was in college, we had a guy who had been a roadie for a lot of big acts, and he came in and spoke to us, did a little presentation, and afterwards he took questions, and I asked him, "Have you ever met Paul McCartney?" And he went, "Yeah, worked with Paul McCartney, alcoholic." And everybody laughed at me, so take that as you will, because I don't know if anybody's heard that before. But hey, maybe he's not anymore if you've heard this song, Happy With You. Or maybe the guy was bullshitting, we just can't tell. Also, there's a harpsichord in this song, sort of underlying everything, and he really likes harpsichords these days, isn't he? It was all over New and Memory Almost Full, so yeah, big fan of that. The next one is called Who Cares? And I really like this one. It's a bit of a rocker, and it's very catchy. And Paul's vocals on it are great. He's really letting it rip. And people give Paul a lot of stick for his vocals these days, but I think I don't think they're in as bad condition as people like to make out. I think people's views are swayed by things. You know, when they see Paul on telly or something. When he's on telly, say Jonathan Ross or Jules Holland or whatever, he'll be less prepared than he will be on tour or be recording. So it's the same with the Jubilee or the Olympics. So I don't actually think his voice is quite as bad as people make it out. It's changed, but I don't think it's bad. You know. Next one is For You, and this was produced by Ryan Tedder from One Republic. And this is the low point of the album. This is the only track on the album I do not like. I just think it's absolutely insipid and very disappointing. It's very disappointing that Paul feels that he needs to sound like this, he needs to sound like Imagine Dragons or Coldplay to get anywhere. He thinks this is going to be his hit, right? And this is not. That's not to say this is a new thing. McCartney's always been vying for hits, and when he worked with Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and people like that in the 80s, he was totally angling for a hit there.
But anyway, he said to Michael Jackson, he said, you want to make some hits? So I said, yeah, sure. So, you know, being of the hit-making variety.
But there is a much bigger gulf between his sound and what is authentically Paul McCartney and the pop mainstream. Much bigger now than there was in, you know, the early 80s. And it's not a gulf he can cross anymore. I think this song just sounds pretty embarrassing, to be honest, and just those chords and everything, it's just it's so uninspired. He really could have tried a bit harder, maybe. But there we go. But this is the last that Ryan Tedder travels us on the album. He only gets one track, and I, for one, am very, very thankful for that. When this song first came out as the second single from the album, I gave it a little bit of stick on this Facebook group I'm in, and a lot of people were like, haha, well, you say that, but this is going to be a hit. And I said at the time, I said, no it won't, and it hasn't been, so there we go. I actually think the mechanics of the charts nowadays pretty much prohibit Paul from ever having a hit, a solo hit, again. But perhaps if he'd given this song to somebody else, another artist, maybe they would have had a hit with it, but I just don't think, I didn't think he was going to have a hit with it, and he hasn't. It hasn't made any showing on a UK or US charts, or any as far as I know, so sorry Paul. Track 7 is Confidant, and this is a bit like Happy With You, another sort of low-key styled sweet little song, but it's quite adventurous. It meanders through a few different sections and all of that, so you know, it's a pretty good composition. Now, a lot of people on Twitter have been saying this song is about John. It's about John. Well, they're wrong. It's not, because Paul's done interviews about it, and he says it's about his guitar. It's about sometimes he feels he's left his guitar out, and his guitar is his real confidant. It's his real friend. So, no, it's not about John Lennon, and not everything has to be about John Lennon. But it's very hard to tell people that, isn't it? Track 8 is People Want Peace. Yes, they do. And this is classic Paul McCartney. It sounds just it's just got that sound to it, you know. And again, you know, thinking of older songs, this makes me think of Come On People from the album Off the Ground. And yeah, I like this one. This is good. I mean, I've liked all of them so far, apart from that one. Then we've got Hand in Hand, and this song's really purdy. And it's a bit of a love song to Nancy, and yeah, really nice, a lovely little sort of spot on the album. Track 10 is Dominoes, and it's a real winner for me. This is a highlight from the album. It's got that descending chord sequence that immediately made me think of You Won't See Me from Rubber Soul, and I know Paul's been doing that song live recently, so maybe he was messing about with the chords backstage and came up with this. I don't know, but it's great. Production is absolutely on point. I don't think I've said it enough yet, but the production by Greg Kurstin all over this album is just fantastic, full of all sorts of little flourishes which are just so inventive, and you know, I think he's really done well on this. There's amazing bass work on this song, a great chorus, really catchy chorus, fab lyrics, great lyrics, and I know people will not Paul for his lyrics, but I think over this album, there's no duds. It's pretty lyrically great. And yeah, I think if this had been the lead single rather than two singles, Come On To Me and I Don't Know, if this had been the lead single, just this one song, I think people would have really been wowed in a way that maybe the two singles felt a bit more, I don't know what to think, you know? Because this is great. This is a real winner. Track 11 is Back in Brazil. Now this is a Latin flavoured track, and quite a lot was made about that in reviews before the album came out. Oh, he's going a bit Latin, but he's done it before with the hit Hope of Deliverance from 1993. So yeah, this is great. Again, this is another highlight for me. I think just sonically, all sorts of stuff going on. It really works. The next one we've got is Do It Now, and this is a really nice little sort of baroque pop song. I think again we got the harpsichord going on in there, and it's just about doing things while you can. I know I don't. So it's a nice message. Track 13 is Caesar Rock, and this is a bit more of an experimental kind of number. I'd imagine it came together through the recording process. Yeah, I really like it. Again, it's really nice to see Paul indulging in his sort of outlandish, experimental side. Because I think sometimes he feels he needs to rein it in, and needs to sound like what people expect him to sound like. But really, he's more experimental than people think. He really is. I mean, just listen to McCartney too. Track 14 is Despite Repeated Warnings, and this one obviously alludes to Britain's exit from the European Union, or imminent exit, apparently. And Paul voted Remain, but Ringo voted Leave. Take that how you will. So it begins with quite a weird effect on Paul's voice. It sort of sounds like he's singing on the toilet. But it goes into this whole sort of ship theme, with Paul sort of musically riffing on what should we do with a drunken sailor? What should we do with a drunken sailor? He steals a bit of that, and it's really nice. And then it goes into another section. It goes into, well, loads of different sections. It's very impressive, this one. Just a bit of an epic, really. And yeah, when the horns come in, it's great. Yeah, it's hard to know what to say about this one. I think it's just great. I just heard it and I just thought, yeah, this is what he should be doing in 2018, and this is what he's doing in 2018. Especially like the ending when he's saying, it's the will of the people and all of that. Well, it's good. Bit punch in the air. I just thought, yeah. He never puts songs this good this late in an album. Never. He never does it. So I was pleasantly surprised. And yeah, it's possibly my favourite on the whole thing. I think this is really, really great. And yeah, just reminds you why you love him, innit? Shout out to the lyrics about his wife and Janet or whatever. Right, and now we come to the end. We have another sort of link, Station 2. And then we finish on a medley, Hunt You Down / Naked / C-Link. And I don't know about you, but for me, that immediately made me think of the medley that finishes Red Rose Speedway. But I think this one's better, probably. And I really like the Red Rose Speedway one, but I think on this one, the songs could really stand up on their own. Probably better than the ones on Red Rose Speedway. So it's not just that Paul is kind of lazily not finishing them and putting them into a song. It really does feel like they're fully baked ideas. The first section of it is called Hunt You Down, and this is standard sort of Paul rocker fare, but what really lifts it is the production. I think Greg Kurstin's production on it is just very punchy, and yeah, he really serves the song well. And yeah, the second section is called Naked, and this one is particularly good. Really strong lyrics again. Paul saying, "I've been taken for my younger brother." Mike? You sure? And just musically really nice. Got that waltz time thing going on, and just yeah, great. Really like it. And then the third and final part of the medley is called C-Link. And this is a sort of vampy instrumental with a guitar solo, and it's all in C. That's why it's called C-Link. And yeah, I like it. I like the there's the sort of C chord being done by strings all the way through it. Tell you what this makes me think of. It makes me think of Take It Away from Tug of War, because it begins with the end of the Tug of War strings going through it. So it goes, ooh. That's what that made me think of. He's done it all before, I can tell you. No, he hasn't. But yeah, I like it. It's very serene. It's a nice ending to the album, and it is a great album. It's a great album. I think it's better than New, which is his last album from 5 years ago, which was a great album, had a lot of great songs on it, but I think that Paul was somewhat buried in the production on that one. And it wasn't the most consistent because there were so many different producers on it. I personally think that maybe Mark Ronson, who produced, I think, 3 of the tracks on it, I think he probably should have produced all of it. I think his was the best style for Paul at that time. But on this one, apart from that one detour, it's Greg Kurstin all the way through. And I think he does an amazing job. I think it's Paul's sound updated for 2018, and it's a bit more successful than Paul's sound updated for 2013 from the last one. And it seems like he gave Paul a freedom to let loose and be himself and be creative in the way he always used to be. Yeah, I think this is great. This is possibly top 10 McCartney albums for me. You didn't expect that, did you? But I think it's really, really good. Better than New. Better than Memory Almost Full. I don't know about Chaos and Creation. I'll have to re-listen to them again to be able to measure this up against his other modern day albums. But I think this is... yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really impressed with this album. And I hope all of you are too. I hope you really enjoy it. Because it's made me happy, I can tell you. So this was just a short little track by track thing, but I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know what you think of the album. Or if you disagree with me. Thanks. Bye.